So, welcome back. My name's Greg, Soul Searching Gaijin. That's me. Make it comfortable. So, today's video, I'm gonna give you an update on where I'm at with the whole live performance thing. uh, Lots of changes to the rig that I've made, and just a lot of stuff that I've learned, and just kind of show you where I'm at with things. I'm out in the park today. My wife's at home, and I didn't feel comfortable filming this at home, so I figure I'm just gonna, punch in some shots of what I'm talking about. But essentially, I just wanted to be in a kind of peaceful place and just kind of go over what's been happening the past few months since I've been doing this YouTube thing. So I'll try to look at the camera. I have to remember to look at the camera. Okay, so I've been having a blast. Been doing music for maybe about, I don't know, maybe about 4 months on YouTube now, doing these live performances, and I've learned so much in that period of time, honestly. One thing that I learned right away within the first few weeks of having this big rig which I put together, which was amazing, and was that it's heavy, and I don't want to carry this thing to gigs. It's excessive. I should have known that from the beginning, and there were some really nice people gave me comments like, yo, what are you doing? As somebody who's been doing this, I think you're going a little overboard. And I'm kind of stubborn. I had my reasons for doing what I did with that large rig. I literally love the capabilities of it. I loved having everything that was in there. It just gave me so many options. But one thing I really learned quickly was, aside from it being heavy, which I knew that was going to be kind of an issue, but I was kind of not really being realistic with myself about that, was there's just too many pieces of equipment to manage, and you only have two hands. And I found myself getting really kind of confused with all the options. Just what? Yeah, and so, okay, in a controlled environment in this studio, where if I don't like the take I can redo it. Though most of these recordings were literally just first take. There's very few that I actually just stopped the camera and went started again. There was a lot to really handle, and there was a lot of practice that had to be involved, and that's fine for one track. But when you have to go through a whole set, when I would actually bring up the pieces after I got a few pieces in and was trying to string them together and remember where everything was, and I realized that I didn't really set things up in a very conducive manner for me to remember where things were. I had samples all over the place. On any different box, there was different elements, and it got really tricky to try to pull that off, going from one track to the next on that large rig, which, like I said, I still love it. It was great. So what's happened is that got me on this little path of trying to find a smaller solution. I was still pretty much married to the big rig, and at that point, and just wanted something sort of like, if I were to do like a further show. Okay, so for instance, I'm in Osaka, and I found the place for, actually, I think the first gig I'm going to try to line up later this month, at this place called Tobita Records. And I've already talked to the owner. He's checked out my music. He's like, yeah, we can do a show, no problem. But unfortunately, they are booked up until early 2025. Probably January or February is when I can get in there, which is totally fine with me because, like I said, I've been doing quite a few changes to how I'm going about this. So I was looking for a smaller rig. I've known this for about maybe about 6 weeks that I could do a show there, just have yet to schedule it. And I was looking for something that I could take that would be much smaller and still give me the possibilities that I had with the larger rig. And I went through quite a few different iterations. As you know, I have a lot of equipment, and I was utilizing what I had and then also going through and adding a piece here or there that I thought would help me out. As you can probably tell, if you watched any of my videos or watched a bunch of them, almost every given one, on any given one, there's almost a completely different setup on my desk. And I haven't been using the live rig in the past, probably 5 or 6 pieces of music I've done. And that was me literally searching for a different solution. And it ended up that in writing these pieces, since I had so much on my desk, I like to have everything connected. This is kind of how I am, a little neurotic like that. In the midst of writing something, I just be like, oh, I want to add this element, I want to add that element. And then when I look back, I'm right back to 1,001 pieces that I'm going to need an external mixer for. So that definitely was not going to work. Then I went down the route of trying to see if I could pull it off with 1010 Music Blue Box and Black Box. Blue Box being a mixer, 6-channel input mixer. And same thing with that. I overly complicated things with that. I used a ton of inputs on that mixer, and I routed things to external effects because I just kept finding that I really wanted the possibilities that I had with the big rig. It was just really, it's nice to be able to not be limitless, but to really have a lot of options. Using the SP404 as a performance effects was really, really nice. And so yeah, I was kind of missing that in the smaller gear. So with the 1010 music stuff, I liked it. I also realized that I did not like sequencing on it. I was using external gear for sequencing. I grabbed a Korg Electrop, an old one, ESX1, I believe. And I love that thing because, like I said, I used to have the blue version of that back in the day, and it's just really nice. That is pretty hands-on, and I could do a lot of stuff just with that, honestly. But it's not the style of music that I tend to gravitate towards. I really can't polyphony. I can't really play. It just has limitations. It's really good at what it does, amazing at what it does, and I don't think I'll ever get rid of that. To me, that's like a classic car. Even if it doesn't get used a lot, I don't think I'll ever get rid of that. It's fun. That's one piece of equipment I can just pull out and just make some stuff on, for no real reason other than just because I want to. Not that I'm trying to do, a live show with it, and it's just enjoyable, very satisfying. But that still leaves me with, where am I with things? So the current state of the live performance rig is I basically just kind of took it all apart. I took that big case out. It was too much. I realized that the beautiful Play Differently Model 1.4 mixer was just too heavy. It's a ginormous piece of equipment, and I don't want to have to cart that along with some other stuff. I really don't. It's just too heavy. So, but I love it. I think it's amazing. I will never sell that. And so I put that on my main table, and I have since cleared out my main table pretty extensively. I have it now hooked up, so I have the Model 1.4 handling what's going to be an Electron Digitact, which this one that I'm using, this is just my main table right now. This is not the big live rig. go over that in a second. I found I had an old Electron Digitact that I've been carting around for a couple years. It was giving me lots of issues. I couldn't, with the knowledge I had back a few years ago when this was happening, I couldn't figure out how to fix it. And I just put it in a box, figuring one day maybe I'd send it off and get it repaired. And just replaced it at the time and was using, the same piece of gear, just one that didn't have these issues. And somehow miraculously, I don't know, it was just been bugging me. I just pulled it out of the box and spent a day messing with it, and somehow I got it working. I don't even want to go into it, and I don't know. I got it working. So all of a sudden I find myself with two Electrons. I have the new Digitact, or two Digitacts, the new version, which I upgraded to a while back, which I love, which is in the big rig next to Digitone. And so now I have another Digitact, and I love the Electron boxes. I would say that that's where I'm most confident and comfortable with performing, with sequencing. I understand those boxes really well. I love their sequencer. I love the fact that the Digitact gives me 8 channels of MIDI also at the same time, so that gives me opportunities to sequence other things. I love working with samplers. It's really nice. So that is hooked up into the Model 12. I also have my Zen delay, which I love. I will never get rid of that. And I replaced a bunch of other pedals that I had with a Erica Synth's Night Verb, which I think is really, really nice reverb. So those are on my FX Sends 1 and 2 of the Model 1.4 mixer. And I got a used Syntax, which I'm going to be using mainly as my drum machine. I love it because I like the sounds on it. It's Electron. Like I said, I'm very comfortable with that workflow. It pairs beautifully with the Digitact. I can have the inputs or the outputs of the Syntax going into the Digitact, utilizing Digitact's compressor, and then still giving me just a stereo out that can go right to the main. So essentially that could be right there without having to use this beautiful DJ mixer. Could allow me to just take 2 pieces of equipment, do a much smaller gig, and at the same time, the projects that I'm doing on that, I can transfer those files into my larger rig, which we'll get to in a second. So therefore, I'm not necessarily writing 2 different sets that I have to use different equipment on. If I want to, the smaller set, I can, like I said, I can always transfer and add on to that and incorporate that into the bigger rig. So the big rig, let's move on to that. So I had a hard time trying to figure out what I wanted to do with that. I definitely knew I wanted a lot of options. I wanted to be able to do everything that the SP404 did, but I didn't. That was just one more piece of gear that I really did not want, and I wanted to be able to control all of the machines, which are all going to be Electron. I wanted to be able to control them without having to switch patterns on each individual track. So my solution, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is I pimped out a very powerful, I keep using that word powerful in these videos, but it's a very powerful, smaller live rig consisting of 4 Electron boxes. I have a used Octatrack Mark II, a used Syntax, and then the Digitone and Digitact Make 2, which, like I said, I've had for a few months now. So that added 3 new pieces of gear to the studio. That was the Octatrack, 2 Syntax, mind you, and I basically liquidated a whole bunch of extra gear. I just had too many options, too much, as one of friends on YouTube we've been talking about, too much low-hanging fruit. As opposed to just taking sounds from just using one element from one box. I now am forcing myself to stay within the Electron workflow, which I'm very comfortable and happy to do so. And the live rig now, it's really nice. I have 1, 2, 3 smaller boxes, all controlled by my Octatrack, which I am literally just using as a performance mixer. It's replacing the Model 1.4 Play Differently mixer, as well as the SP404. And all the effects are coming from the Octatrack. I'll be able to utilize that beautiful little DJ fader for scenes, which can give me some amazing, allow me to do transitions. I'm using the Octatrack also, going to be using it as a live looper. So I can grab and manipulate and mangle what I'm performing on the other 3 devices. I learned a lot over the past few months in trying to figure this out, and I will definitely say I learned a lot of hard lessons and wasted a lot of time and quite a bit of money, actually, because I've resold some equipment that I purchased and only had for maybe a month when I realized that, hey, this is not the way I want to go with things. And what it comes down to, I guess, is I'm just trying to simplify things and make it so I don't have to always write on the big rig. And like I said, anything that I do on my table, I have access to everything in my studio easily, and I'll be able to incorporate that into an older Digitact and the Syntact. And I think that that's going to be good because, like I said, I can transfer those files into the bigger rig easily. It gives me some options. There's, like I said, everything that I have in the studio now that is still there are things that I really don't want to get rid of. Pieces that I feel very comfortable and intimate with. I really enjoy what they do, and I think I will have them forever. I'm pretty much at this point, I'm done searching for how I'm going to pull this off. So essentially that gets me to a point where I'm pretty much starting over. The past few weeks, I've just been doing a lot of education on just figuring out how the Octatrack is going to do what I want it to do. Is probably the most difficult piece of equipment I have to understand. I've wanted one, and for many years, at least a decade, I think it's like, I don't know, it's easily over a decade old. It's been out for a really long time. I just never really went that route because I was always intimidated by what everybody said about it. It's just, there's a lot to learn. But in this process of performing, I've gotten to know my equipment so much better, and I feel a lot more confident that I can figure these boxes out the way I need and make them work the way I need to make them work. I'm not afraid to open manuals now. I know at the beginning I said I'm not a manual guy, but that has changed. Knowledge is key in this. There's so much that these machines can do, and it's in your best interest to really learn them. It makes your life a lot easier, which is what I'm trying to do. I really want to have, like I said, I want to have a lot of options, and at the same time, I want to try to set it up So I don't have to freak out as much on stage, and I can make things nice and as easy as they can be, so I can really do what I enjoy, which is manipulating sounds, playing with effects. I can stay on patterns, change patterns when I want to change. And the Octatrack is allowing me to do that. I've already figured out how I can control all 3 boxes from the Octatrack, flipping all the patterns at the same time. And one thing I was doing before this was I was creating multiple patterns. In some of the videos you'll see me flip through quite a few patterns in the performance. And this, it's okay, but I think I really want to be able to stay on just a couple patterns per piece of, per track, per song, whatever, and just deal with performance effects, grabbing loops and mangling them a little bit, creating variation that way, muting, unmuting. I don't necessarily think that I want to structure out the whole song in patterns and just cycle through patterns. I was doing that because it was much easier when I had all these other pieces of equipment going, and I had my Digitact triggering all kinds of other things, and it just made it easier because like I said, I only have 2 hands. So now that leaves me with a lot of education. I have to really wrap my head around the Syntact. 2 of them. They're new for me, and they're Electron, so I pretty much I've already created on them. Within hours of having it hooked up, I already have a new track, and I'm like, well, great. So the Syntax is basically, I think, going to be my drum machine for the most part. The Digitact is going to be where I keep do most of my melodic harmonic composition on, and the Digitone, with having the Syntact and Digitact and Octatrack, that frees me up to not worrying about polyphony on the Digitone, because I don't really need to use all 4 tracks with that as much anymore. So at some point I will be incorporating a key step, Arturia key step, to be able to play stuff live, because I really do love that. Being able to play keys live adds so much. But at the moment, I think I'm going to try to keep it simple and work on just mastering this whole Electron setup. I have a new case coming. I've repurposed my old ginormous coffin case that I had my original big rig in, and right now it's housing all the boxes for most of the equipment, empty boxes for most of the equipment in the studio, in case I ever trade anything in or when I move. And it's become like a nice little coffee table upstairs in my bedroom next to the bed. So it wasn't a waste, though it was in some ways. I mean, they're all lessons you need to learn. None of this is easy, and this is all first for me. I'm definitely glad that I was honest with myself finally, after a good month and a half of fighting the fact that I wasn't excited about taking that big rig to a show, and a little intimidated by how difficult it was to move around in it. I really just want to make things nice and easy. And once I get comfortable with this Octatrack setup, which I'm learning quickly, I love it, really learning quickly. Also, I'm being helped a lot by, I have not taken private lessons, but I've been watching EasyBot, Matthew on YouTube. He's amazing with Electron equipment. There's so many people, really. Cuckoo has great beginner tutorials. Ricky Tinez. There's just so many people that are just really good with Electron gear and the Octatrack, and I'm inspired by a lot of them. I learned so much from all of them. So I'm going to be using EasyBot's performance templates for the A and B scenes for the slider on the Octatrack. He's just developed so many amazing performance effects, and it's going to save me a lot of time. I want to learn how to do that on my own, of course, but at the same time, I really want to make things as simple as possible. I don't want to get lost in the weeds of constantly learning, which I have to, basically, but I really want to get down to just being able to really enjoy the music and enjoy what I'm doing. So I think that's where I'm at, man. And I tried to go small, grabbed myself a Korg Volca FM, a bunch of little things, man, and they're great. And given any bunch of these scenarios that I've hooked up over the past few weeks, few months, any one of them could work. It's just a matter of really what I felt comfortable with, what I wanted to be able to do, and I kind of wanted a rig that was pretty limitless. That's why I went crazy with my first build with this ginormous rig. And I think I found that with the Electron boxes. I think I'm going to... I mean, I know I'm already incredibly happy with what they can do. I just have not nearly scratched the surface of mastering the setup. I'm just in the process of making it work for me and figuring out how I'm going to do this in the most logical way that takes the stress out of performing. And yeah, and like I said, at the same time, having a few other devices on my table, I'm staying in the same workflow. And when I work out on things on the table, I'll actually prep samples in my DAW and import them, and it adds an element that I just can't get from the sounds on the Electron devices. And I mean, you probably heard a lot of choir samples. I have a really nice choir plugin that I just think is amazing. You can choose your own huge list of Latin words. I'm guessing what most of them mean, and just basically write your own choir pieces. It's pretty amazing. I have nice piano samples from Spitfire Labs, which I've been using. Have my Soma Labs Terra, which is beautiful. I think I want to sample that. I have a Rav drum, which I really like. I've taken that to the park a few times and played on that. That's just got a beautiful sound in itself. And this is allowing me to actually put that human element in by playing on a keyboard, which I really enjoy. Prepping my stuff in the computer, making my audio files, bouncing them down, getting them to sound right, putting the right effects on them, and then importing them into this gear so I can utilize them and give me a nice little flavor in the tracks, as opposed to I like electronics, I just don't want to sound like I'm not trying to really do dance music. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just not, I don't know. I just don't think that that's not really where I'm headed. I'm a little bit more eclectic in what I like to do. So I like the possibility of having other sounds in there. So really long ramble today. Yeah, so in the future, hopefully very soon, I will get to do some performances on the new live rig, but at the moment I am learning, and I'll probably, while I'm buying myself a little bit of time, as I don't want to put out really crappy music, I'll probably be doing some smaller performances from the stuff that I have on my table. And And that's great because, like I said, there's so much equipment. The equipment that I have now, I will not be getting rid of. I love it. Whoa, what kind of bug are you? And yeah, so that's what's to come. More music's to come. I just thought that I owe everybody a little bit of an update as to what I'm up to. And yeah, thank you. The channel's growing. It's great. I have some really nice conversations with some people in the comments section, and thank you all. You guys are great. You really inspire me so much. And once again, if you're thinking about doing this, you made it this far, just go for it, man. You don't have to have a crazy rig like I do. I'm definitely blessed in the circumstance that I'm in to be able to make these mistakes, purchase equipment that doesn't work for me, and I realize, and then I change gears and I sell it and I get something else. And like I said, I've felt the sting of learning that lesson the hard way in the past few months. I've definitely learned how to confront my gear acquisition syndrome. I know that was an issue and always has been an issue for me. But I do feel at this point that I have what I really need. And I've scaled down my live rig. I really like the size of it. Love the capabilities of it. My studio is not as cluttered. I finally have some elbow room where I can put my elbows on my desk, which I haven't been able to do for quite some time. And I have less options on my table, which kind of keeps me a little bit more focused. Yeah, so anyway, whatever equipment you have, you can make it work. You just have to find what works for you, and it is a growing process. You will definitely, as you evolve in this, as I have, there's going to be different things that you want to do, and you can always add stuff. I will say I definitely learned the lesson of less is more. Keep it small if you can. I mean, when I say less is more, my main rig still has 4 pieces of equipment. But it's when the new case comes. I think the case should be coming tomorrow or so. It's a really nice case that I got for it. Once I get it all put together, everything's going to be Velcroed down. It's going to be so much cleaner, so much tighter than my original big rig. Very secure. Just a lot easier, man. I mean, just in so many ways, I'm trying to take the stress off. And like I said I'm excited because now, once I learn everything, I do have to kind of prep for this first live show, which will probably be at Tobita Records. And it'll probably be in like January or February of next year, even though I really wanted to make something happen this year. And there's still some time. If I get comfortable and have something going on nice, there's a couple little art galleries around, which I may just try to talk to some people and see if I can just, when they have like a new art opening, just kind of provide some music for it and do more on the ambient side. I don't want to distract from what's going on over there, just to kind of get me in front of people. But if that doesn't happen, I'm fine with early next year. There's really no rush for me. I've been having a blast doing the YouTube channel, growing the YouTube channel, and just making music. I mean, I've learned so much just from doing music on YouTube. This has been my education, really. It's been really, really great. So anyway, I ramble so much, man, but thank you for listening. Thanks for your support. Thanks for your comments. If you find value in any of this, if you've made it this far, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're a subscriber that hasn't been back in a while, check in, man. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. It's really nice talking to you. And like I said before, I checked out a bunch of your channels, and I continue to as I go through when I have the time, you know. I've been pretty busy lately. Pretty busy lately. Yeah, very busy lately, honestly. So, but like I said, there's a lot of talented people out there, man. And I see some of your channels, you haven't posted things in quite a long time. And I just challenge you, man. Just put something out there. You'll feel better. I've felt so much better in this whole process. I just doing it. It's a long road. It's going to take a while. And I don't really have any planned expectations or outcomes other than I just want to get really good at what I do. And I've done some music that I feel really proud of in the past few months. And I've gone in a lot of different directions. And I've overcome so many fears. I've really, I never could have done this 2 years ago. I wouldn't even have considered doing this. I would have been terrified. But at this point, man, it's just part of what I do, and it's been amazing. I can't even tell you the ways that it's changed me. So I will ramble all day if I don't eventually stop this. So anyway, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.